Okay, hey, y'all, welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. This is a collective convo, and I'm thinking right now, as I'm sitting in my house, scrolling and seeing what's happening in Palestine, in particular, about what it does to a soul who takes another life in such a barbaric way. I just saw this post about doctors and patients being shackled to beds, and there was a mass grave, or they I don't know. Either way, what Israel is condoning to humans is insane, and the planet. And I'm thinking about like the universal laws. I'm thinking about what kind of karma is being accrued by people who are carrying out these acts of barbarism, right? Like, I don't know if that's the right form for that word, but these are barbaric acts. I don't think there's another word that can conceptualize what we're seeing, right? And I'm just thinking, this has been one of the questions I've held so dear to me forever, is how and who are able to carry these acts out in such a way, and why, right? Like, why would someone think that they are morally superior to another human to be able to take their life in such a way? And, you know, I think that what we've seen is that these people are brainwashed from a very young age, right? Between 0 to 7 is like the main functioning of the brain. That's when the brain is developing, like, immensely. I mean, up until the age of 25, the brain is continuing to develop. I'm almost 40. I learn something new every day, right? But as far as like the way that the organ works, usually 25 is how that is. I was put on medication at the age of 23 that completely shifted my life and my brain. And I went off of that medication as soon as I could. Took a couple years. And I regained all of my consciousness and my powers and my brain and my knowledge back. But like the pharmaceuticals took that. So I'm feeling like there's some sort of chemical reaction that's happening within these people to be able to carry out these barbaric acts, right? Like, it's the only thing that I can think of. I've studied genocide for years, since my undergrad, because I've always wondered how people could be so cruel. But what I'm thinking about now that I've come into consciousness and in this different spiritual space is, what do those acts do to a person's soul? Like, I'm getting that scene from Aladdin in my head, when Jafar has Aladdin locked up in, what is he locked up in? Like the OG movie. When is he like locked up in one of those time capsules or something in the sand? I don't know. I'm getting that scene in particular though. Like, it feels like a soul who would carry something out like that would be stuck in this space of, like, there's this space and time that the soul is going to be stuck, and that's going to create more and more bad stuff. So how do we stop it? Like, how do we stop it? We counter it with love and authenticity, which seems like Care Bear, right? But it's real. I mean, I would never love on someone who's carried out those acts. I've done my shadow work. I've accepted my own darkness. That's not how I would. In the past, that's what I said I wanted to do, especially with Joseph Kony and like other bad men. I'm like, I would love to sit down with them because I'm fascinated with the psychology of that behavior. It's just not my reality. It's not something that I can really grasp. But I'm sitting here and I'm just seeing these bodies, seeing these skeletons with handcuffs on them, It's just, I don't know. It's who could carry that out? How in that time? And there must be some sort. I mean, we've seen it. We know it. There's this camaraderie, right? Camaraderie. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Amongst soldiers who encourage each other to, take it to the next level, right? That brotherhood. And we're seeing that here in the United States at this point too. I want to just get on here and talk about this because as we are watching more and more atrocity, more and more people are turning away from being a person who speaks against it, which is, there's a panther, I believe it was a panther, who said something along the lines of, staying silent is choosing the side of the oppressor, right? And I couldn't agree more. But I just think it's so fascinating how, and not in a good way, it's not something that I'm excited about, it's something that I still can't grasp. And I feel like if this is a conversation or a topic that is piquing your interest, I was going to do a video the other day about universal laws and how energy and karma work, because I don't think people understand how you get back all the energy that you give out. So if you are stuck in cycles of bullshit, take a look at what you've done to other people. Start there. There's this karmic retribution, but we need it to happen at this galactic dimension level, right? It's just fascinating, again, not in a positive way, how these acts can be carried out and how these folks think, but this is deeper than just human form, because as humans we have the ability to critically think and have our consciousness intact. We have the ability to communicate, and these three things are what sets humans a difference, because animals act within the circle of life, but they're not particularly atrocious is the word I'm getting. They can be trained to be that way, but if you come across an animal in the wild, your energy is going to affect how they react to you. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are malicious. It just means that is the circle of life, right? I don't know, it's fascinating. But karma, I believe, you don't have to believe what I believe, but I'm going to share what I believe. I believe in reincarnation. I believe in karma. I don't really practice any sort of organized religion, but I do highly resonate with Buddhism in those two things, reincarnation and karma. And I do believe very much in what we give is what we receive. I believe in our ability to have our mind over matter, right? I believe in our human ability to make decisions based on our own consciousness, our own awareness, right? Because consciousness is just that. It's just awareness of others around you, right? Do you recycle? Do you pick up litter? Those are forms of acting in consciousness for the planet, for the environment. And I'm not saying but think about it, if everybody, right, and this is what we're experiencing as humanity as a whole right now, is these different waves of consciousness, people becoming more aware of their consumption, aware of their imbalances, aware of their patterns that these systems have created for us, including genocide. Genocide is a system, or is a practice supported by these systems. And so people, money is the root of all evil. People have said this for decades. But I think now is a real moment that we're seeing that. What are people willing to do to other people in order to get what? To gain what? How are people carrying out these acts that are incredibly barbaric. How do you hate someone so much and use rape against them? Like, that's something that I don't understand. I don't have a dick, but I hate the people who do, for the most part. If you're a man in my life, you probably know that. But rape, like sex is a beautiful thing for women. It's something that we experience as a sacred energy. I mean, for the most part, but it's a different experience for us because it's internal for us. For men, it's not. It's external. And I'm not trying to do, I'm not talking about heterosexual, but I'm talking about these people are raping people. They are shoving shit in their asses. They are shoving their dicks in kids and people. And I'm not just talking about Palestine. I'm also talking about Congo and Sudan. Women in Sudan are committing mass suicides to avoid being raped. And so it's who can carry that out. So if you think about sex as, if you root back into your consciousness, into your humanity, and you think about sex as a life form, as a way to bring life, as a love experience, sacred energy exchange. Sex is an acronym. I know that exchange starts with an E. Calm your tits. But if you think about, and I've said this a lot about the baby boomers too, as the baby boomer generation were all conceived after a war, either during or after a war. And look at that generation. Look at how apathetic they are. Look at how selfish they are. Look at how demeaning they are. Their conception had a lot to do with their attitude and their consciousness and the way they created their own reality and the reality that we're all still living in. And so if you think about consciousness again is the ability of being aware of what's around you, being aware and choosing the best option for not only yourself but others as well, including the planet, the animals, other humans, children. That's what consciousness is, and we're witnessing this as humanity is continuing to wake up to these things. But just seeing, I mean, who could carry these acts out? Could you? I mean, if you're on my channel, if you could carry these acts out, go the fuck away. This is not the space for you. But if you are someone who also carries their humanity, their authenticity, their love, and you're like having a hard time conceptualizing how these things are happening, you've not lost your integrity or your humanity, and a lot of people have. And again, I've just been on this journey for decades of how does this shit happen and what does it do to a soul. And so if we think about that soul who shackled bodies and then threw them in an open pit and buried them alive, if we think about these people who are raping people, if we think about reincarnation, again, you don't have to believe what I believe, just humor me and think about it with me for a moment. If we think about that, and we think about the reincarnation of that, then we're always going to keep repeating these cycles of abuse, of atrocity, of war, and that's what these systems and these people in charge want. Now, at this point in time, we are living in prophetic times. Both oral and written histories have talked about this period of time that we are excitingly living through. But we're not enough people are standing for justice, for consciousness, for the right thing. Not enough people are demanding consequences for these actions, right? So if we think about that, if we think about how the world turns, right, very days of our lives, again, with the fucking hourglass, what the fuck? Okay, so that's the second vision. There's an sand, there's a big, oh, I wish I had one. I used to have a little green one. So if you think of one of those hourglasses, which are the two funnels with the sand, and you flip them, And I think that's why they keep giving me that vision, because once the sand goes to the bottom, then you flip it over and it starts over again. And I think that's why I'm getting that vision, because that's the one from Aladdin as well. The sand is that it's just repeating. It's just repeating until we choose to either A, stop procreating, stop having humans, but again, by ways of rape, children are being created. New souls are being brought here. So what are those souls? Again, thinking about the boomers with that conception of war, right? When you are in a space of what's this word? When we're in a space of there's a word for this. Okay, I'm not gonna get the word. There's a lot going on right now. I'm watching Hocus Pocus just because I like the East Coast vibes. In the beginning, Miles making sense too. When you are in a space of it starts with an A. No, it's like this this absence of, or this wow, there's this lack of, what is this word? It's like you're grasping for anything. I'm totally losing my train of thought because I'm totally hyper focused on this one word I can't find. I don't even remember how I started this thought. But when you're focused in this space of, it's like an abyss, right? It's this this feeling of not being able to grasp reality, right? I don't know. I can't stop thinking about the way that this is happening, the way that it's going to affect the future until it's stopped, and no one's stopping it. And it's just like, it's just so intense to think about. It's so intense to think about how this is going to continue for more generations, and so many of us at this point are generational curse breakers, and we're doing so for humanity for probably the first time because we have so much access to information. And so the system is coming down on us extra hard. The system is trying to remove that as a possible outcome for the future, and stay in these cycles of barbaric atrocity, war, rape, all the negative shit. So it's kind of like the entire human collective as a whole, and as well as individually, are going through shadow work. But what would it do to a soul to carry out those things? And we've had a handful of Israeli soldiers and American soldiers commit suicide, using their deaths as a way to make a statement. Like Aaron, what was his name? Aaron, the guy who set himself on fire. Aaron Bushnell, I believe. American soldier who was like, this is what the ruling class has decided to normalize, and I will not be a part of it. And then he set himself on fire a couple years ago. And I think, as righteous as that is, it's, as a collective, it didn't change very much that we've been able to see, right? And these systems are very organized. So I don't know. I'm just thinking really hard about the afterlife and life to come, and if we're ever going to be able to break these cycles, right? And like, spiritually speaking, we understand that like right now we're in the age of Aquarius, which is like behind the veil. The truth is out, obviously. But with that truth being out and people having access to it, the distractions, the systemic criminalization of like knowledge, right? it's just so, it's a very interesting time to be alive, but I can't stop thinking about these souls that are carrying these acts out, and they're carrying it out on innocent folk. And that's the thing, it's like, women and children should be protected, not preyed upon, and that's the society at a global scale in which we live. Women and children are seen as a resource, and then there's the rise of divine feminine right now. It has been for a few years, but it's becoming more and more, and I believe that is a part of consciousness. I rose into my divine feminine energy with my birth of my son. He really was a catalyst for me to stand in my power. I mean, I had a free birth that I've never felt so feminine in all of my life, or powerful. And I think that's the thing. Under patriarch, this system tells us that women are weak. We're the weaker sex, right? We are the weak ones. No, women are strong as fuck, and that's why the system needs to do so much to keep us contained. And it's going to get worse and worse unless we do something about it. But soul-wise, I don't want to have to come back to this planet and do it again. I'm on my own path of karmic retribution, where I'm doing everything I can to be as innocent and keep my innocence as close as possible, because I do not want to have to come back to this planet again. Again, I do believe in reincarnation. I've known it. My soul is very old. My spirit is young, but my soul is old. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I believe that your spirit is like a wispy version of you, and your soul is like the depths of you. That's my belief. You don't have to believe it. Take it if it resonates. Pick it up, put it down. I don't care. That's just what I believe. I think that another belief of mine is that it's really important for humans to allow mystery to a certain degree, as far as esoteric knowledge is concerned, as far as your own spirituality, your practices and whatnot. Not everything needs to have a human label or a human understanding. You can just allow things to be dark, Darkness is its own thing. No, I'm not high right now. I'm just thinking. I can't imagine doing something like that to someone else, and it makes me wonder how people are able to. And I understand the brainwashing. I understand the scientific method behind it, but it's incredible to actually see the scale of how many people believe they are better than others because of a simple difference. Entitlement is a real bitch, and it's being weaponized. So, okay, that's all. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.